Okay, welcome guys. Welcome to those coming in now. Matt's from Sydney. Lovely. Appreciate it. We are going to start. Other people will join as we begin today's webinar, but I like to keep things on time and reward those who are punctual. So I appreciate you all making the time. Welcome to today's webinar, which is what's new in Zoho CRM. Just a quick introduction for those who I haven't had the opportunity of meeting, and my name is Sam Daines, and I'm the CEO here at Ardento. We've been a Zoho partner since 2015. And we help businesses all around Australia, New Zealand, and internationally make the most of Zoho software. And today we're going to be walking through a collection of changes within the Zoho CRM system specifically. We'll try and keep it within the hour. I'm aware of everyone's time and making the effort to join today. Just a couple of housekeeping things, guys. If you do have any questions, the Zoom chat is open, available for you to write your questions in there. I will briefly pause throughout the next hour just to check those and see if I can answer any questions that come up. If I can't answer them, I will do my best to get back to you with answers that you may have to your questions. The session is being recorded and you will all receive a link to the recording after the webinar. So if you can't stay for the whole thing, then be sure that you can watch it online afterwards. Right, so just a little bit of an agenda for today, guys. I am sharing my screen, so I'm sure someone will scream at me if you cannot see the slides up on the screen now. But we're going to be looking at new features available in Zoho CRM that's available right now. So these features are likely already in your CRM system, available to you now. You may not be aware of them. It's a tip that I can give for anyone who is a user of Zoho CRM is from time to time, I suggest you just simply Google what's new in Zoho CRM. It'll take you to a landing page where you can actually see a list of the new features that Zoho add to the CRM platform. And this goes across all Zoho apps. It's definitely worth keeping an eye on that if you are an avid CRM user to understand what's changing. Not all of them are going to be relevant to you, but there will be something in there over time. And we'll go through a collection of changes that are available right now, and some of those likely will be of benefit to the way that you're using CRM. We're also going to look at some of the coming soon features. So these are features that you probably do not have access to right now, but we as a Zoho partner are privileged to have access to some of these early features. And I'll show what they look like, what you can expect in those up and coming features. A big announcement that was out of the US Zoho conference that I had the privilege of attending back in June is something called CRM for Everyone. It's a big new release for Zoho CRM, and we'll touch on what this means for you Zoho CRM users out there. And also I'm going to wrap up with a little bit of a takeaway from just my thoughts and takeaways from the Zoholics event in Austin, a much larger event than we have here in Australia. So I definitely want to share with you guys some of my thoughts and takeaways from that. So on with what's new right now. So these are features that are in your CRM right now available to use. You may or may not know that they're there, or you may already be using them, but we're going to go through them and I'm going to demo for you each of these features, but I'll just list them out on the screen now so that you can take note of exactly what they are. We're going to look at the feature to be able to add a QR code on Webforms, a new nifty little feature in there. And some of these are just quite small, simple changes that Zoho has added to the system, but they often can go unnoticed without kind of being aware of what these changes are. We've got rich text support for multi-line text fields. So if you're looking to do some formatting of the data in your text information in your CRM, you'll be able to use rich text fields for that. We'll show you that. We've got a great new suite of features around the ability to export data out of Zoho CRM. So we're going to have a look at the new export features. Some of these features have been around now for probably the last few months. So I'm kind of wrapping up about 6 months worth of changes in today's webinar. The ability to create multiple Kanban views. So Kanban is a columnized representation of information in Zoho CRM, and you can now create multiple versions of a Kanban within one module. We'll talk about that. You've got Canvas view on record entry. So for those of you who are interested in the aesthetics of your CRM and making it look exactly the way that you want, you will be interested to know about how you can create canvas views on record entry. We'll have a look at that one. We're going to have a look at a new feature, a little bit more of an advanced feature within Zoho CRM, which is labeled Cadences. So we'll talk about what cadences are, what some use cases around it. I'll show you what that looks like. And then we're going to wrap up here with something called Kiosk Studio. So something else a little bit more advanced. What is Kiosk Studio? What can it be used for? And I'll give you a bit of a demo of that as well. So a good collection of changes and updates there that we're going to go through right now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen over here, and we're going to share a different screen. Right, so hopefully, guys, you can now see a version of my Zoho CRM instance up on there so that we can have a look at that. And we're going to explore some of those first changes. So the first one there is being Webforms in the QR code. So this is just a simple demo system of Zoho CRM. I'm going to go into the setup area here, and I'm going to go down to an area called Webforms. Webforms you can search for here, just in the menu. Webforms is a feature within Zoho CRM that allows you to expose fields that you have in your CRM to collect information externally. So a lot of people would use Webforms simply to capture maybe an inquiry that comes from your website or something like that. So you'd simply come down here and create a new web form. We'll call this the QR code. And we're going to attach this to the leads module. This would just be capturing an inquiry, for instance. So I'm not going to go into the detail of actually creating a web form in great detail. Happy to walk anyone through this, and our team can assist here. But also, once you've defined the fields that you want to capture here on your web form, you then would go next, which is essentially the step of publishing this web form maybe on a web page or where it's going to live. So I'm just going to add in the Ardento website here, and I'm going to say that it's going to redirect to the Ardento website once the inquiry is submitted. And then we would hit save here. Normally at this point, you would take this code and you may embed this on a web page somewhere. So you're going to take this and take it to your web designer or embed it on your WordPress website, your Webflow website, so that people can submit and get data in here. But the new feature, guys, that I want to highlight is under this publishing format is simply something called the QR code. So what this now gives you the ability to do is to generate an actual scannable QR code that would direct people straight to that web form. So this is a great idea if you maybe want to print a brochure, maybe you're going to an event and you want people to be able to easily direct maybe from their phone to a web form directly connected to your CRM. So just a nice nifty little feature there that allows you to easily access this web form via a QR code. And of course you can download this via an image and save this as necessary. So that's QR codes, guys, on web forms. We're moving on now to rich text support. Now, to do this, we're going to look at the module customization. So this is where you would go if you're going to make changes on a specific field, specific module, add fields, remove fields, and so forth. I'm just going to grab maybe the contacts module down to the standard layout. Here's where you would see all of the fields related to a contact. And I'm going to drag on the multi-line text field, which is this field here. So it needs to be the multi-line text field. You drag this on, and we're going to call this just rich text. Previously, you only had these options: small, which is just a collection of small amount of characters, a large text field if you want to capture more data, but now you have the ability to capture a rich text field. Once you choose this option, you need to hit done and then save. It's worth noting you can't actually change a field to be a rich text field, if it's already been created. You do need to sort of create a new field to do that. But the power of a rich text field is quite nifty. If we come down here and I just pick one of my sample contacts, and I come down here to the rich text field that I added onto the screen here and hit edit, suddenly now we notice a whole bunch more options. So formatted text can go here. I can, insert emojis. I can highlight this text to be a different font or a bold in color, and none of this was possible prior to this, guys. You had no ability to create colored text or any type of richly formatted text within your Zoho CRM. With the rich text field, you can now do that. So this can be great if you want to highlight some specific information, something specifically useful. You want to bring information right to the forefront of your data. Something a nice little option might be to change this to the business card, take that rich text field, dump it on the business card, which then moves that at the top of your record. So a nice little nifty feature there, guys, that lets you create formatted text within a record. All right, now we're going to move on, guys, to the new record export features. So this is how you can export data from within your CRM. You've always been able to export data from Zoho. However, there's been somewhat limited to how much actual exporting can be done. You're limited to a certain number of records and things like that. Whereas now, if I come to any module within my system and I can choose the export feature here, so I'm going to export contacts, I've immediately got some additional options available to me. For one, I can export up to 200,000 records, which is a big plus. You never used to be able to export that many records from a module in Zoho, but now you can export up to 200K. Something probably more useful here is the ability to choose to export a specific custom view. So instead of just exporting all of the data, you can choose to export a view that you've already got configured, maybe a predefined list or a predefined segment of your information. I can choose to export all of the fields or just some of the fields from my data. And I can also just build my criteria on the fly. So if I wanted to be able to export data based upon some specific queries on this particular export run, I can set this criteria and do so, and then just simply hit export, and that's going to output this data into a CSV format for me. This is available across all of your modules, including any custom modules that you create. So this is a really nifty way to be able to get your data out of Zoho CRM fast and specifically get some more filtered data if you only want to export a limited set of information. That's the new export features, guys, on Zoho CRM. We're moving along, keeping an eye on my time. We are going to look at creating multiple Kanban views. So for those who maybe are not familiar with this, if I use the standard deals module, it just represents business opportunities in my CRM, but you can use this view on any module. The columns represented here are based around a stage, a pick list field that is in my CRM. So it has qualification, needs analysis, value proposition as stages within the CRM here. Over on the left, underneath your little filter pane option here is this stage view. This refers to the Kanban view that I have. Jeff loves a Kanban, absolutely, who doesn't? And now, Jeff, what you can do is go ahead and create an additional one. If you want to look at information in two different manners, I can come up here and call this new Kanban. And I'm going to categorize, instead of it by stage, I'm going to call it by type. And I'm going to make this one colorful. I'm just going to leave that field in there. If I hit save on this now I'm looking at the same information in that module within a different style of Kanban. This is using the type field, being existing business and new business, and showing me that. And I can now switch between these views just by simply changing this here. Looking at the same data, but it's being framed in a different way. So you now have the ability to create multiple of these views from within your CRM system. So that can be helpful there. All right, let's have a look at now moving on to some of the more detailed things. We're going to talk about Canvas view on record entry. So to do this, I'm going to go in my setup area. It's not the only spot that you can go to, but it is useful to do that. I'll get rid of that out of my way. I'm going to look at Canvas here. Actually, I'll bring it up from this part of the menu to make it a little bit more clear. Records in Zoho CRM or views of data in Zoho CRM are essentially broken down into 3 areas. List, so when you're looking at a list of records. The detail view, when you're looking at all of the view of that information, so either a list of contacts, looking at a specific contact, or I'm editing the record. And if I'm editing the record, they call this the form view. You have been able to, for some time, create a highly formatted digital representation of your data under something called the detail view. So if I come to an accounts module here, accounts record, and open up this particular thing, and I scroll down the very bottom, and everyone has this in their system, you will see that you have the ability to either create a new canvas, and if you've never done this, if nothing else, it's worth having a look at. It's fairly impressive. It allows you to create a completely custom user experience. And this has a detailed editor where I can go ahead here and edit the Kanban view in a predefined editor, which allows me to move all of my information around in a specific way and really kind of make this detailed view exactly what I want. It can take some time and it can take some finessing, but it gives you the ability to format your CRM records in exactly the way that you want. Now, until recently, you've only been able to do this on a view page. So I'm looking at the record here. You can see it looks different to the standard screen. And when I hit edit on this, it's the standard Zoho CRM edit screen. I lose all of the formatting. I've just returned back to the normal edit screen. However, now we have the ability to create a custom Canvas form page for the edit view as well. So I can come down here. I've created one called Accounts Edit View. So now this is a formatted edit view of the data in the edit mode. So I can actually come here, make changes to my fields, make changes to the details on my screen, on my record, without having to go back to the standard Zoho area. You've really got a lot more functionality now to have a custom view on the detail page, on the list view, and also on the edit view. And I can just save this record as I would like anything else and flip between the 2 custom views. So if you're a big fan of the Canvas Studio and you want to play around with the real look and feel of your CRM, I definitely recommend experimenting with that Canvas view. The next one I want to have a look at, guys, is something called Cadences. Cadences is a fairly new feature within the CRM, which allows us to create a sequential. How can I set up the detail view for all users, Christy? I'll come back to that at the end. I will show you something that you can kind of set that as a default. Cadences is a way to create a structured set of follow-ups that is much simpler and easy to understand. So you may have any type of situation within your organization where you want to be able to create an automated set of follow-ups for business, new business opportunities, for membership, for contacts, whatever it might be. You can create a cadence in this Cadence Studio, and you're going to be presented by something like this, where again, the Kanban view, you've got follow-ups 1 through to 5. And this allows us to create a string of 5 follow-up sequences that are automated based upon some specific criteria. Walking through what I've got here is I've got my follow-up 1, which is simply the very first event. And this is just going to create a task. And it says, do this immediately after enrollment. All this means is as soon as a contact enters my cadence, and I'll talk a little bit about how we can configure that entry point, it's going to create a task with the due date 1 day after it was created. So that's an easy one follow-up. And you can do this using normal workflow in Zoho CRM. So if you're familiar with workflow, you can create a workflow rule to create a task. Not groundbreaking here. But what I can do now is I can chain together the next follow-up or the subsequent follow-up based upon the action of the first follow-up. So here I've got the system creating and sending an email immediately after the previous task is completed. And I can set up a template, I can do whatever. So as soon as my team complete this task, an email is going to then be sent to that contact as part of follow-up 2. Now you can see here that if I wanted to create a third follow-up, so what happens after that email is sent? And I simply click on here and I've got the option to create an email, a task, or schedule a phone call. So let's send another email. Here is where you define when is this next follow-up action going to occur. Immediately, or I can create a delay. And is it after the previous email is opened, whether it was clicked, as soon as it was sent, or if they replied to it, I can then trigger the next event. So I've got now an easy way to string together a collection of follow-ups that happen automatically based upon a sequence of events. And this could have been achieved using workflow, but it's less understood because it's not as visual. So now Zoho give you the opportunity to create this cadence of follow-ups in a much more visual way. It also has reporting against it, where I can see where or what records have entered the cadence and what events have happened with them. So I can see here that 10 follow-up tasks were created and none of them have been completed. So this is giving me some sort of feedback as to like, where are these follow-up cadences in my database and against the records. Now, the last thing I want to show, if I go back to creating a new cadence, so that was all run, all predefined. But if I create a new cadence, and this is probably the part that excites me the most, because it's all very well to say I want to have a follow-up, but it's unlikely that you're going to want a follow-up for everyone. So, I'm not going to set a cadence across my entire contact database. I'm likely going to want to follow up based upon maybe some criteria or some other event. You can choose to enroll records in the cadence, either manually, so I can choose I want to push these particular records into the cadence for a sequence of follow-ups, or I can choose a custom view. Now, this is powerful. I can create a custom view here with some very defined criteria. Maybe it's contacts in a specific industry or contacts that have interacted with my organization in a specific way. As soon as they enter this custom view, they're then going to fall into my follow-up cadence and begin receiving those follow-ups along that way. So you can now create a fairly structured way of creating follow-ups, follow-up events that is more visual, easily understood without having to create this kind of string of workflows, which is something you previously would have had to have done. I'm moving on to the last part of what's new right now in the Essence King time, and I'm going to loop back to a couple of the questions that have looped up in there. The last one in my list of features, guys, to talk about is the Kiosk Studio. Under customization, Kiosk Studio. I don't know where Zoho come up with these names. They are kind of confusing, but it is what it is. This is the Kiosk Studio. This is probably a more less understood feature. I'm going to do my best to explain for you what the kiosk is. So a kiosk is a sequence of events and a sequence of processes that you want to happen with your information and you want to interact with it in some way but it's not necessarily directly related to a module or the data entry within a module. Think of this as a way to create a bit of a user experience. Maybe you want to collect some information from your users, but it doesn't necessarily warrant creating a whole bunch of new fields on a module and have that kind of string together. And this gets you an ability to be able to create a user experience similar to like a blueprint, but it's not modular specific. This particular one, what I've done is I've said, look, I want to be able to have a process that allows my users to schedule a call with a specific segment of companies. So what I've got here is a sequence of events that's coming in. I've got the ability to, and I'll edit this so we can see it. We've got the ability to ask the user to enter some information. I'm going to say, give me a call description, give me a call date and time, and tell me what target industry you're going to look at. Now, the beauty about this, these fields that we're adding here, these are not part of a module. These live within the kiosk itself. So this is fairly interesting. But what I can do then is I can capture this data and then I can take a decision. I can do something with the information that my user has given to me, and then I'm going to direct them down a path. In this example, I'm saying, well, if they enter in an industry of manufacturing, present them with another screen, which is going to be a list of accounts that match this criteria, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a scheduled call with them. So I am now asking my users to enter data that is not modular specific. I haven't created a new module to do this. I haven't created a new record to do this. I'm creating a screen and a sequence of events within something called a kiosk. I'm going to publish this. Now, the part I like about this most is where you can attach the kiosk to. Typically, when you're doing things within modules, as you know, you're stuck to entering the data in a module, in a specific area inside of your CRM. A kiosk can be attached to a button. It can be attached to a blueprint. It can be just added into your Canvas view. But what I've done here is I've added it to a home page. Now, this is pretty cool. You can come up to a home page here, which this is just a dashboard or a collection of widgets. I've added it onto my manager's page here, which allows me to add this kiosk widget. I'm now recording a follow-up call, putting a date and time. I'm saying, what industry do I want to target? And I'm saying done. By doing that, I'm now producing that second screen, which is filtering a list of accounts for me that I want to target as part of this. I'm going to select one of those, and then I'm going to be done. And then I can present another message on the system that simply schedules a call. This has allowed me to build an interactive screen from my homepage that then affects data in my CRM. The use cases for this could be quite expansive. There is a lot of different options that we have for doing that, but the kiosk is an interesting way to create user experience not attached directly to a module. So think about that one, guys. I am going to just cast my eyes. I know we had a couple of questions. I'm going to do my best to answer those really quickly. When I create these fields of Kanban, can other users see it, or is my personal view? So when you create a Kanban view, guys, it's based upon who has access to that module, so other users can see it for sure. So thanks to whomever asked that in that particular Q&A. A couple of questions that came through is about, can I set Canvas view and the cadence for internal teams? So let's answer, how can I set the Canvas view to be the default for all users? So when you come in here, if you go to Canvas in your configuration area, and I'll just pick one of these here, and I can edit the Canvas view. Actually, I think it's under the layout and the permissions. So if you do this here, and then you go Canvas assignment. So go to edit the Canvas assignment. This lets you know which profiles, Christy, so your security profiles, whether it's what is the default for them. So I can then just flick this to say, well, for all my standard users, the canvas is their default view. For the administrators, the standard is going to be just for the administrators. So it's under the canvas edit, canvas assignment is where you're going to make that change. And the last question I had in the chat from Catherine was, can you use Cadence for internal team follow-up? Now, I like this. This is a challenge that I am not prepared for, but I'm going to try and answer it on the fly right now. We're going to have a look at cadences. I'm going to say, edit my cadence here. And I'm going to say, can I create an email? I don't think it's available. You only have the ability to attach the follow-up to the module that you're in. So I can't send an email to like an internal team member. There would be a workaround for this, potentially adding in the owner's email onto the contact record and have it sent to them. I'll drill into that a little bit more for you, Catherine, but that's all I have for you there. Cool. So I'm going to move back to my slide deck, guys. I'm going to stop sharing here and I'm going to reshare my slide deck. I'm going to continue on. We've got 30 minutes remaining. The clock is ticking. Back to my slide deck. We've covered all of those features that I just showed you are available in your CRM right now. You can start using them. They are there. Go ahead, play, experiment. This next collection of changes is unlikely to be available in your CRM yet. We're going to look at something interesting, exciting, maybe a little daunting. A new user interface is coming for CRM, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek of that now. It is a fairly significant user experience change. Zoho are taking feedback on this, and you will be able to sign up for early access if you want to see this in your system now. But it is coming. There is going to be a new user interface, and we'll look at that together in a moment. We're going to talk about dynamic lookup filters. So if you're familiar with lookup fields and how they work, connecting records across modules in your CRM, a new feature coming for that, which is called a lookup, dynamic lookup filters. I'll bring that across to you guys as well. We're going to look at some changes to Subform. So anybody who's using a Subform out there, they've really improved the way the user experience is around a Subform. You can do something called an inline edit. You no longer have to go into the edit mode of the record. To do that, we'll have a look at that one. And we're going to do something called filter by related list. A really little change, a really nifty little change coming soon. We're going to be looking at filter by related list. I'm going to reshare a different CRM system for me now. Let's reshare. Close that off. What do we see there, guys? Do we actually see what I want you to see? Let me just stop sharing and reshare that. Okay, guys, so what we have on the screen here now is another CRM instance. And what you're immediately going to notice is we have this big menu over on the left-hand side here, and we no longer have a menu across the top. So the major change here is clearly a shift in the way that the main menu is looking in my Zoho CRM. It is collapsible, so I can collapse this in here, and I'm now kind of just left with this more slimline option here. I've got the ability to kind of see my modules here. I can access reports and dashboards from in here. I can access any jobs or requests I might, the marketplace and the global search. I've got my reminders and stuff down on the left-hand side here as well, and I can pop this out. One of the advantages of this new view is that all of the areas here, all of the information that's presented in my modules is accessible. Before, if you realized, if you've got a lot of modules in your CRM, they're kind of all hidden behind a more button, whereas this brings that information a little closer to your user experience, so I can easily access these modules. What I can also do is I can create folders. So I can now create folders here, which allows me to organize my module in a way that makes sense. So I can move my modules into a specific folder by kind of building out that folder or creating new folders as necessary. So, I've got the option to move a module into Sam's folder, and I can start to organize my modules in a way that might make a little bit more sense to me. So I've got a bit more flexibility coming in the way that I can structure the modules in my CRM. One of the other major changes here is the fact that I now have the ability to easily create my own modules under something which is called a team module. So this is handing over a lot more freedom to your users to be able to create their own modules to do specific tasks, which is not necessarily part of the wider CRM. So I can create a team module here. I can use a template or I can build one from scratch. And it's really streamlining the ability to create a module that mightn't be needed for whatever my specific team is working on. So it's really democratizing the ability to create modules in your CRM and making it a little bit more easy for a team member to create a module that they might want to work with that doesn't necessarily disrupt or cause problems for the wider organization. So the ability to create new modules, is becoming easier. And along with that, if I come down to say my test record here, and I click on this button, you'll notice that the ability to customize this specific module is now much, much easier straight from my main menu. If I wanted to create a canvas view straight from here, I can just click here. If I want to add new fields straight to this module, I can do this, whereas previously you would have to navigate through all of the customization menus. So I've got more freedom to access administrative and customization options directly from my main menu. So obviously this is going to be a pretty significant change, and be aware of this. If you are a regular CRM user, this is going to be something that is coming. If you are interested to have this added into your CRM, you can kind of opt in for it. It would change it for everyone in your CRM, of course, so be aware of that. And of course, don't be too concerned about the ability to make these changes. All of this stuff is still controlled by security. Obviously, the major change being the modular structure shifting from the top to the left-hand side. So that is going to be a significant shift in the way that your CRM looks and functions going forward. You've probably already noticed, and I had a couple of customers pick this up for me today, that the search function is a little different in Zoho. So that search feature now has changed, and you're probably noticing this change in your live CRM as of today. So they're starting to bring in some elements. This new user interface is probably a little while off. They're taking a lot of feedback from there, but you can expect to sort of see that happen in the near future. The next one I want to look at, guys, is some information on how we can, we'll jump around a little bit based upon where I'm in, but the one I wanted to look at was what's called filter by related modules. So I'm on a test module here in the system. You've got your filter pane. Everyone's aware of filter options inside of Zoho CRM. But down on the left-hand side now, I've got this new filter, which is filter by related module. Previously, the filtering could only be done in the context of the module that you were in. So my test records, if I apply filtering, I can only filter within that area. I can't filter based upon data in another module until now. So now I could say, well, look, I want to filter based upon meetings that are connected to these test records. And I can do something like, show me test records with no meetings, but I could just do something like show me meetings where the host of the meeting is Brandon. Okay, so I'm now able to filter my records from within a module based upon information in a module connected to that record. And this goes for all connected and related modules. So for those of you out there that have custom modules, all linking and related, when you have this feature enabled, you can filter based upon the information here, based upon what is in other modules. I can think of unlimited use cases just by even thinking about some of the people that are on the call right now around searching different across modules and understanding how to place that filtering. A pretty simple yet powerful tool, guys, that really lets you filter a lot more detail within the module. That's filter by related modules. We can get that added to your CRM whenever you like. Just reach out. I'm going to customize my module now. I'm going to go down to module customization. I'm going to go down to my test module. I'm going to pick the standard one. I'm going to do two things here. I'm just going to add a subform. A subform is a way to create a list of detailed records within a record itself. So think of this like lines on an invoice, or maybe it's attendees to an event or something like that. We're going to call this a test subform. It's just records within a record is the simplest way I can explain it. I'm just going to add all right, let me call it test subform. Call it test subform. I'm just going to add like a single. Let's add a single line text field. We'll call it text, and then let's add another field called email. And then we'll add one more, and we'll call it date, and we'll just call that date. So that's going to be my subform. I want to show you that from the inline editing. The next one I want to show you on here, whilst I'm in this lookup area, is I'm just going to add a lookup field. Remembering, guys, a lookup field is a way to connect two records together. So maybe I want to connect my businesses with my contacts, or I want to create my accounts with my deals, or whatever relationship you need. But I'm going to create a new lookup. I'm going to call it new lead lookup. And I'm not going to worry about that. This is the option you want to have a look at, guys. Filter lookup records. This simply allows us to now apply a set of filter criteria to what appears in the lookup. So usually if I was saying, okay, give me a list of all contacts, for instance, it's just going to show me all contacts across my whole system. It's not going to show me any contextual information in here. But I want to then grab this filter option and say, how about I apply some sort of filtering? But instead of applying filtering, I'm going to say, look, I want to filter by, let's just pick this lead source field. Instead of just saying filter based upon lead source is LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever it might be for my lookup field, I'm going to pull this drop down here and I'm going to choose field. And what this means is I can now match that up with a pick list within here. You want to experiment with this to understand what it's doing, but it's basically saying I'm going to click on my lookup field, I'm going to look up leads, but it's only going to show me leads where the lead source of those leads matches whatever the other value is on my record. So in this example, the test pick list. So it just simply gives you a way to be able to create that filtering option against a lookup field. It gives you that extra little bit of functionality to be able to limit the way the lookup field works. So it's definitely worth experimenting with this filter lookup record options. I'm not going to save that because it's not letting me, and I'm going to hit save here. I'm going to go back now. I'm going to go back and I'm going to close my setup area. Actually, let's just use my new module structure. And I go back to a test record and I'm going to click on a test record here. Previously, a subform, to be able to add data on this subform, I would have had to have first clicked the edit record. I have to edit the record to be able to add data in my subform. No longer. I can simply just add text and data directly into my form without editing anything else on the record. So I've got the ability to add records straight from the view page. I can also clone rows. So if you've got a subform that you're doing a lot of data entry in, and I know there's some of you out there, these changes just make that process of managing and manipulating a subform a lot easier. I can also filter and sort the data in the subform directly from this view. So if I want to search by, a particular date, or I want to sort this in a specific way, I've got the ability to do that now directly from my subform view. I can even filter. So if you have a subform that has a lot of data in it, you will find that you can filter this extensively. I'm going to cast my eyes over to the chat before we get kind of the later part here. Can the modular structure define for a group of users? So yeah, you can definitely turn, so Christy's asking about the new modular structure, like can we change the way that the modules are presented for users? And yes, you absolutely can. Christy has done in the profiles. How do we opt in, Michael? I can do that for you. We can opt in for the UI access. We will action that on our end. Subform direct editing is a game changer. I love that. I agree, Christy. I think that's a massive improvement. If you are interested in getting some of these features enabled ahead of time, let me know and our team will do that. So I'll pick that up with you, Michael, to get the UX opt-in for you. I'm going to now just return back, guys, to my slide deck because we are approaching the last part of the webinar today. So these are the ones we went through: the CRM program, the new UI, the dynamic lookup filters, the subform, inline edit, and the filter by related list. Some new features there, guys. Wrapping up in the last 5 minutes, guys, I just want to kind of detract a little bit from CRM specifically, but it also was where they announced this new CRM user experience, and they've dubbed this called CRM for Everybody. In June, I had the opportunity to travel to Austin in Texas, USA for the Zoholics conference, a much, much larger conference than we have here in Australia, many thousands of attendees. I got to spend some time with the CEO and some executives over at Zoho, which was great. But I wanted to just share with you some of the information that Zoho was sharing with the attendees at this conference, because I think it's worthwhile knowing, if you are invested in the Zoho platform, as we are and as all of you on the call are as well, where is it headed? What is Zoho's thought process about Zoho as a product? And where are they heading with this application of theirs? The major component, guys, that came out of Zoholics Austin is around platform unification. The best way I can describe this is, as you are aware, Zoho are essentially a collection of separate applications. We have CRM, we have campaigns, we have desk, we have over 50, 60 different applications. Essentially, they're an application company. But as they grow and more people use Zoho, over 100 million users around the world using Zoho now, there is this big push to unify the platform. So this means creating commonality between all the applications. Instead of it just being a separate app, Zoho has integration between different applications, but sometimes it's not always perfect. Let's be real. A lot of their R&D now, in fact, the majority of the Zoho R&D budget is going into unifying the platform, making those applications that are there now talk more closely to each other and share common properties. A great example of this is like a unified documents layer. So as you are aware, if you upload documents maybe into CRM or maybe into projects or maybe into Zoho WorkDrive, you've got documents in all different places. One of the first things Zoho are working on is to create a unified document layer so that no matter where you add attachments or documents in your Zoho platform, from whichever application you do so, you're going to see a unified document layer experience. So these things really kind of are the maturity of Zoho, looking at moving from kind of an app-based application to a platform-based application. And this is, like, I think super important, and it just shows that Zoho really kind of understand, what Zoho as a business management platform means. Unified APIs for those tech heads out there. There's lots of different APIs in Zoho as well. If you want to make things talk to each other, you want to integrate with them, we often have to deal with the nuances of each particular application's interface, unifying this, making this one-stop shop for integration. What does this mean? Probably less new apps from Zoho, right? So Zoho have a prolific app development rate. They add new apps all of the time. It is probably going to slow, and I, for one, actually think that that's a positive. I don't think Zoho need to be adding 10 new apps every single year. I think they really have a collection of amazing applications, and more focus on these apps and the way they work together, I think, is ultimately going to benefit all of us using the Zoho platform. So platform unification, a big focus. AI, another big focus. Zoho, of course, like any tech company, a big proponent of AI. They're going to be investing heavily in their own AI across the Zia. It already exists across many areas. You're going to see an expansion of that. They're also investing in third-party AI. So, they're going to be connecting to things like OpenAI, Gemini. Some of this already exists now. They know that some of these are the front runners and the leaders of AI. So instead of reinventing the wheel, you're going to be able to leverage some of the existing AI models that are out there across language models, being your large language models and your generative AI. That's going to be coming in there. A simple feature that happens right now is predictive model coming in Zoho, which I hadn't got the time to show you today, but summarizing notes within your CRM. If you've got notes across a long history of notes, you can easily kind of get some predictive summarization of what those notes mean across the records. So these are the types of AI areas that really Zoho is going to be moving into. Platform unification, focus of AI. Of course, new features will come as part of all of that as well. Wrapping up, guys, if you are interested in learning more about Zoho and you want to shake hands with Zoho people and you want to meet people from the Ardento team face-to-face, I highly recommend you make the trek over to Sydney on the 11th and 12th of November this year. You get to experience some of these things live. You get to understand what Zoho's focus is in Australia and what they have coming up next. Definitely worth the couple of days over in beautiful Sydney, and definitely bigger every single year. So I'll be there along with some of the Ardento team and many other people at the Zoholics conference in Australia. And because we appreciate your time today, wrapping up my webinar, if you are interested, you can take note of that discount code and get yourself some discount on Zoholics tickets, a little bit of a saving there. So that's about it, guys, for the webinar today. I do value your time and I appreciate you making the effort to join me today. I will just do one last cast my mind over to the chat in case there is any last questions. Otherwise, we are finished for today. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Keep an eye out for those changes in your CRM and also a link to the recording. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.